to THA Talks, for free thought and open minds.
And for freedom of speech.
Hello, I'm Paul Obitelli and welcome to What's News on THA Talks, the alternative podcast show from the UK. If you'd like to check out our full archive for more talks on conspiracies, spirituality, the occult, science, history, art, philosophy, religion and much more, just go to www.thatalks.com to listen to or to download all our free content. And if there's anyone who'd like to contact us and give us some feedback, or maybe you'd like to recommend a guest for the show, you can email us info@thatalks.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show via our RSS feed, and you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube and many other podcast directories out there. Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in again, good to be back with you. Been really busy of late, this is why there's sparse shows again. I have got to start putting this show forward and giving it some priority, I do know, but I'm kind of just basically touching on the things that are really interesting for me at the moment and things that I'm actively involved with on the ground and out there. It is getting very political. I mean, especially in the UK at the moment, we've got next week we have the Tommy Robinson rally, which I've made my thoughts clear on that in a article on THA Thoughts, and I'll be going again on the 14th. I think it's a very healthy, thriving movement. Of course, the media have attacked it and called it extreme and this and that, as they always do, but they're becoming very see-through and they really need to change their tune. You know, a lot of the people they're attacking are very intelligent people that when you listen to make perfect sense and articulate themselves very well. And I think it's a very good movement. We've also got Donald Trump visiting next week on the, I think it's the 13th, and there's going to be a rally against that. I don't know what the rally is for. Oh, we don't like you. He's a democratically elected leader of America, and America are a very close ally of the UK. As far as we're concerned, it's business as usual, but no, they're protesting because well, I don't know, but there's going to be a counter-protest as well, obviously, for that. That'd be interesting to see how that goes. There's also been some success in the EU with them voting out Article 13, or at least delaying it, which is a article that very much potentially could risk freedom of speech on the internet, and even the possibility of memes being banned, and very difficult, basically making it very difficult for independent campaigning on the internet, which is of course because there's been so much success in populist movements with that. It's no shock why they're trying to put a lid on that. So that's been interesting. Today we're going to be covering the subject of the British Fight movement that's entered the internet. We done a show in edition 191 in the very early stages of that movement. That was interesting, and things have developed and moved on. John White's been monitoring and very much deeply involved in it. Very interesting what's happening, because I think it's kind of coinciding with a lot of what's going on at the moment in this country, even with the World Cup on at the moment, and people are so vibrant. I think there's a lot of patriotism in the air, and this British Fight movement online is certainly thought-provoking, and we've got a very interesting announcement to make when I bring John on, which is going to be now. How are you doing, John?
Hello, Paul. Hello, THA. It's good to be back. Now, I have been a very busy boy over the last month. I don't think I've been busier than this in a very long time. It's hands to the pumps. Go.
Well, this whole British Fight thing. It's just a vibrant movement, and it seems to be. It could be connected. It just seems to be at the moment. I think even my friend who was watching the World Cup with England the other day, and he lives in a very kind of pro Remain sort of area, And towards the end, he said the amount of people that, even people that he knew, all of a sudden their patriotism was coming out, and he found out that a lot of these people were pro-Brexit, and he's like, oh, where have they been? They're just sort of closet Brexit supporters, and there was sort of, it even got a little bit aggro. There was people sort of arguing amongst, and it was just not, nothing. It wasn't a riot, but it was just interesting that he saw the beneath the surfaces come up, and he says he's noticing a lot of that at the moment. People are starting to stick their chests out a little bit, so to speak.
Well, let me make some observations. I mean, I'm speaking tonight with two hats, if you like. For one, on the one, I am, for the sake of it, what passes for a British fight expert, in that I've spent the most time with this information as anybody else. But I've also got my hat on as the administrator of the admin of Aslan's Army Facebook group, which is what we've grown from the start of June, literally me and another person, and I said, oi, would you like to come and have a look at this British fight information, as it then became, and now we've grown to a group which is pushing up towards 4,000.
Very good.
And which is entirely focused on discussing and understanding British fights information, both his information about scandals and problems and his information about the plan. So it is, I think you're quite right, Paul, it is a vibrant place. Now, regarding people and people's views, they say it's for quiet ones you have to watch.
Yeah.
You know that saying?
I know what you mean, yeah.
And if I think of it in terms of being an administrator of a group, which is a function I've performed many times, which I've got quite a few years of experience of adminning groups. I haven't done it for a while, so I'm back in it now. But so I think it's about 6-7 years since I was last actually an admin of a serious group. But I know what a group is and how it functions, and the flows of the movement of attention and people on a group. Now, what you tend to find is with any group, no more than 10% of the people ever post.
Yeah.
So, if you have a group with, 4,000 members, your maximum number of active posters is going to be around 400.
Interesting. Right.
It's often less. It's often more like 5%. So it's often more like 200. And if you think about it, when you do partake in groups and you comment and stuff, don't you tend to see mostly the same people again and again?
That's right. Yeah, the same posters pop up. Yeah.
How many people just read this stuff? How many people are quiet watchers and quiet thinkers who don't choose to put their public opinions, put their personal opinions into the public arena, especially because, and isn't it justified, because of the tactics we've seen in recent years of mass reporting and doxing and trolling and all the other kinds of ings that come with the downside of being available to the people on the internet.
Yeah.
So, I think people are wise to keep their own counsel. But the question comes, what then is their decision when it comes time to be counted, when it comes time for it to matter? And I think with the kind of material that we're bringing forward, it grabs people's seriosity. And there is there's a real spirit of engagement on Aslan's Army. We're not closed to dissenting voices, though we do have limits on, for example, we don't allow what we call hateful idiots. So we want people who are rational and want achievable, sensible, pragmatic solutions.
Well, this is interesting hearing you say that, because I listened to Nigel Farage speaking about the Tommy Robinson movement and all this, and the new direction, if there is a new direction for UKIP with Gerard Batten, and also with For Britain with Anne-Marie Waters, and he was supporting the effort, understanding the efforts behind the movement, but also airing sort of quite caution, saying we must be careful not to allow this movement to become far right and this and that, because then it creates problems, blah 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 blah. But I actually disagree with him. I think what's actually happening is you're seeing a lot of people that perhaps have got far right views or have been a part of the far right in their political standing in the past, what you're actually seeing is a lot of these people are starting to become a bit more diplomatic and say, listen, I don't care. I don't care if there's going to be like an all white ethno-state Britain. I just want some common sense action, politics that's going to make a change. It's almost like a compromise, saying, I'm not asking for something extreme here. I'm going to compromise and join this club and see some progress made. So at least there's something being done. That's from their perspective. So I think you probably are seeing some far right people getting involved in these movements, but not because they're far right.
Let me try to open that comment up. I didn't say far right.
Yeah. No.
I said hateful idiot.
Yeah.
Which can include people from a lot of different philosophies.
Yeah.
Including the left.
Yeah. No, that's fair point.
And firstly, in terms of British Fight himself, his name is British Fight, but he's talking about a lawful, democratic, free society fight. He's not talking about any kind of unlawful assembly or call for violence or call for any one part of the populace to be picked on to placate the rest. Yeah. That's not what he's about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my own history in terms of political support is when I was young, I used to support Green Party. Back when it was proper environmentalism. But then the globalists got into that, so I sort of gave up on that. And I think for a good decade, I didn't really have a political party, and I wasn't fussed about voting because I never saw the opportunity for voting to make a change.
Pretty much the same here,
yeah. But that did start to shift. And, from 2014, every opportunity I've had to vote since 2014, I've either voted for UKIP or I've voted to leave the European Union.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is my candid voting record. Yeah. And I'm very well aware that by being associated with UKIP, I've been called a racist, I've been called a Nazi, I've been called a sexist, I've been called a xenophobe. We all know the script.
Yeah.
So I want people to be clear that I don't view association with any previous party to automatically mean anybody is anything, least of all a hateful idiot. But if people come and show that their actual views they hold now are of a hateful nature, then they can go and do their own thing because we're busy doing something that isn't based on that. And that is the line. So, we're in no way excluding anybody. Yeah, but it's a question of other people coming on board the movement with the message of the movement. And if they're not, it's not your movement.
Yeah,
you're in the wrong place.
It's a movement that's asking for change. It's not an ideological movement. It's just a movement that's saying these are the issues we want change.
The ideology, there is an ideology here, which is national unity. And the ultimate solution being offered here is an umbrella party with a set of policies purposefully designed to shut down all of the corruption and the scams and everything which is wrong in our system now. It's essentially a plan for a national unity government supported by whatever parties will get behind its message, excluding the Lib Lab Con. That will put forward this program and deliver this program of government. And the thing about the plan of British Fight is this is no casual back of a matchbox thing. This is very deeply worked out. It's so deeply worked out that he's got to inform us of all of the things it is actually addressing, because a lot of it is unknown by people. And that is why British Fight is making his drops now. Yeah. So it's like a 3-stage thing, you see, Paul. We have the period now is where the drops are being made and the group is growing, and its purpose is to get people eyes on those drops so they can start to understand that information, understand the nature of the problems. And from there, we can then understand the actual solutions, because we can see what the solutions will impact. Yes. Yeah. So that's like a learning process as people sort of come on board with the movement and its message, to the point where you go, yeah, I'm happy to give this a go. I'm going to support this new party. So, that's it in essence. That's what we're looking to get enough people from to have a political revolution, while at the same time, the establishment is going to be absolutely reeling under these hell-bad scandals, which are coming down on them now. You can already see the tremors. They're coming down hard. So that's quite a message to get across.
It seems quite interesting because what British Fight is ultimately talking about, and this could be connected. It could end up being revealed it's connected, or it might not. But when I look at the online support for UKIP at the moment, you've got Sargon of Akkad, you've got Count Dunkula, you've even got PewDiePie, which I haven't checked that, but I did read a tweet from one of those guys saying that PewDiePie had announced that he's becoming a UKIP member or supporting UKIP. So it seems to be that's kind of happening in it, and it's all coming at the time that this British Fight guys kind of or movement,
increasing unity.
It just seems to be the populist
see the potential.
That's it. They're all doing it.
At the same time, while there are protests going on, there is the constant risk of provocation by either the Metropolitan Police or by forces such as Antifa that might try to create some sort of horrendous incident. And we have to hope that simply does not happen.
Well, I think people are even onto that now. I think they're so see-through. It's that they see that kind of stuff. They're almost anticipating it. It's like with this Russian agent, this Novichok chemical attacks. Most people just roll their eyes with it.
This is so ludicrous. We never actually did a program on Scripple. We never got to it. The basics just divert slightly, being as you mentioned that. The basic story is he got Novichok off his door handle, him and his daughter. But this new narrative completely demolishes that, because if a drug user and his girlfriend could pick up a syringe that was used to deliver Novichok, it wasn't on the door handle back at the Scripples' house. So what the hell?
It's just embarrassing to hear them go on about it.
The plotting on this stuff. That smells of a desperation. What do? We're in trouble. Quick, have some more Novichok. What? While Russia's having its World Cup and a very successful World Cup, everyone seems to be saying, and also Donald Trump is meeting Putin, funnily enough, immediately after his visit to Britain. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And Putin's there sitting on cheering his team on in Russia, and May is objecting to go and support England in the World Cup. It's the same old thing. Play it down.
Putin's having a much better July than Theresa May or Angela Merkel.
Yeah. Well, he shows pride in his country. May, I'm not convinced May's proud of her country. What's she ever said or done?
She doesn't really convince very much now, does she?
No, she's very patronising in how she talks about Brexit, and But
there's been one of the bits of information that we've featured, not a piece of British Fight information, but a very interesting piece of information, is an apparent leak of a letter which indicates Theresa May is considering trying to pull another referendum this October. Now, we can't be 100%, but it does look very good. And it's actually a camera phone shot of a computer screen. So it's just like someone took a quick snap in an office. So if it's a fake, it's very good because the language is excellent. And usually people can't resist putting a bit of their own message into a fake, and it kind of wrong tone, but very good. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the general situation around the country. Tommy's appeal has just been put back. Is that because? Now, I imagine them sort of wondering, really, Paul. Is it because they're too afraid to let him out, or is it because they're too afraid to keep him inside? Which is it?
That's very interesting.
Seems like they're hoisted both ways to me.
They're definitely nervous with the movement.
If they let him out, people are going to start listening to him en masse. If they keep him in, they're the bad guys.
I've just realised as well, John, we've done 20 minutes into this show, and we haven't actually dropped this little hot bit of information that we've got in our pockets.
No, we haven't. We're coming to it.
Let's tease them a little bit longer.
Tease him a little bit longer, but yes, there is some hot piece of information coming before the end of this show. Right now. Okay, so we've got Aslan's army, which is fully public, and everything off it is shareable. We're not hiding anything. We want to be seen. But the problems we've had from Facebook, oh my God. Now, look, I've seen a lot. I thought I'd seen everything. I hadn't, and the lengths that Facebook are going to try to deny British Fight an authenticated identity. And of course, each time they're deleting him, it's removing any of the prior posts that he's made. So we're kind of representing what British Byte says and passing it on too fast for Facebook to be able to stop it happening. And in any case, we're not just on this platform. We're also on MeWe as Aslan's Army. And of course, British Fight is everywhere. So he's got all sorts of things going on. Gab, Twitter, all places you'll find British Fight doing things. I really don't know the full scope of this movement. I only know the bit that I see. And I can't see Twitter anyway because I'm IP blocked. But even if I did, I haven't got time to go caring about what Twitter's up to. I'm busy. I mean, that's very much because I'm in this role of being the person that British Fight made that contact with, and because I opened up this group, I am the front man for the Facebook part of this now, and I'm quite comfortable with that, or I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah. So I thought what might be useful would be to give people an idea. I mean, I'm talking about Facebook. I mean, the pushback that we've had, and you see, what we ultimately found is the ghost banning and everything else has been so severe, and the repression of people just for sharing this information, and the repression of British Fight himself. We've found that Facebook has been doing its level best to stop us spreading on their network and getting seen, which is no surprise. But even so, it's not working. We're still getting seen. We're still getting out there because we've got that many people engaged with what we're doing and sharing it. And the other thing is that we thought, well, all right then, you lot don't want us to take the message to the people. Fine. We'll bring the people to the message. So we actually want people to come to look at the information, and if you like it, to invite all of your friends. We want to get thousands and thousands of people in here. We want the people who are activists, the people who want to do things, the people who want to change things, the people who want to get together and make this country right. We want them in our group because we have a plan and we're working towards it. So, I think that's pretty real. That's a pretty amazing thing to be part of. And I definitely would say to all listeners, get yourselves down to Aslan's Army Facebook group, and you don't even have to be a member to see all the posts. That's a big thing. But I'd like to try and cover the sort of range of what British Fight has already talked about, because I think just the sort of broad brush of the topics alone, without any of the detail, is enough to show how serious and big this picture is. So, would you like to explore some of that, Paul?
Yeah, that sounds very good.
Okay, let's get into it a bit. British Fight made his first post the 7th of June. We've been numbering them. Some are text and some are videos, and we've got from number 1 to 0043. So we've come quite a way in terms of the range of stuff that we've covered. Now, the very first one, 001, very big one, is about the family courts and social services. And this is where British Fight lays down the clues to how the family court system has been corrupted and has basically started to profit from putting kids in care. And there's a massive scandal here with parents who've lost their kids when they actually shouldn't have done. So that's British Fight number 1, family court. Number 2 is the NHS, waste and fraud, and the billions which are being lost through absolutely wasteful practices, especially where companies that provide material to the NHS do so with secret prices. So trusts can't compare one company to another. They don't know if they're getting a better price or not. There's all sorts of scandals like that involved with money being sucked out of the NHS into corporate firms. Then numbers 3 and number 4 deal with the threat of terrorism and the solutions to terrorism. So identify what is the reality of a terrorist threat and how could that actually be dealt with. So those, just it doesn't really seem right just to pass over them. But there's so much information here. If I actually go into any detail, we won't cover the broad brush. Number 5 is the idea of a citizens' debt audit. and that this is a mechanism by which we can offset and off-write large amounts of national debt. But number 6 is about HS2 and how through corrupt contracting, HS2 costs 4 times more than a maglev train system would have done. So we're being proper ripped off by, vast amount of public money being spent on HS2 is padding these companies' profits, who are deliberately giving us an option that suits them best and us worst. Especially 50 years out of date, HS2. Number 7 is about referendum, particularly the proposition that except in case of invasion, we must have a referendum before going to war. That's one of the party ideas. Yeah, Number 8 is an introduction to the idea of a party, which I've pretty much already given in the first part of this. But that's what number 8 is, kind of getting people with the basics of that. Number 9 is about the 3 pillars. Now, in the same way, you remember I did the podcast on Q, and I said, we discussed the themes of Q, things that Q keeps coming back to. Yeah. The 3 pillars are a theme of BF. They are fundamental to understanding what's wrong with this country and how to fix it. And the 3 pillars are the houses, meaning the Commons and the Lords, the Crown, and the City, meaning the City of London Corporation. Those are the pillars of British society. That's where the rot is in the heart of our establishment, in all 3. And the rot in all 3 must be dealt with in order to restore the system, to have a reformation, and maybe to make things work a bit more sensibly.
Right.
Number 10 is very enigmatic. Number 10 is a single sentence. Well, it's a couple of sentences, but it's a single line of text. It simply says, I shall read it exactly so I'm accurate here. Why will instructions be given C3I? Understand? That's enigmatic. But if you find out who C3I is, you'll learn a lot about the capabilities of the British Fight Group. So it's an intriguing one to look into. Number 11 is about putting a tax onto derivatives and foreign exchange markets to raise billions, real billions every year for the Treasury. Only a tiny 0.33% tax would bring in best part of $250 billion a year. But that's something that while the corporate lobbyists control our governments, control political parties, they would never do. Number 12 is now this not at all radical. Essentially, number 12 is about the abolition of the Bank of England. And you know a little bit about the story of the old lady of Threadneedle Street, don't you, Paul? And how it was introduced by William of Orange 300 years ago. And you know that it was public, it was privately owned until after the Second World War, when it was partly nationalised. But the board of the Bank of England is made up now of the bosses of all of the corporate banks. So whose interests do they represent, Paul? And it isn't England's.
Believe that, no doubt about it.
No doubt about that. Well, get rid. Enough. 300 years of failure. Time for something new. Number 13 is a kind of about understanding what is broken about society. So it's kind of a little bit of a picture of how things are broken and how that impacts on things. Number 14 is about they are nervous, meaning all of the different attempts they're making to fight back against British Fight, to stop his message getting out, and how it's not working. Number 15 is it's like call to action, really. It announces that a global revolution is occurring, and those who follow the worldwide where we go all movement know that's a fact. You know that there is a global change in country after country, and we're not just Britain But most certainly we're seeing it in Germany, we're seeing it in Italy, I think we're seeing it in France. We're also seeing it in other countries, we're seeing it in Iran, and not least, of course, we're seeing it in the United States of America. And where America leads, the world will follow. And America chooses freedom and prosperity, so will the world. Now, let's see. Number 16, carrying on, calling all patriots. So it was kind of a bit of an announcement, this one, which was to say, keep your eyes on, because in 3 days' time, I'm going to drop something really juicy, which he did. Number 17, why British fight, which is kind of an explanation for why they've come forward in this way. Why the mechanism of British fight? What's the purpose of doing it this way?
Yeah, that's a popular question, isn't it?
It is, and if you get into 17, you'll find some answers. 18 is referring to Q, and there's a little bit of a Q mystery. I think they had some fun with each other, and it's pictures for what we've described as White Rabbit Winterland, but this is actually the Winter Fair in South London. It happens every year. Battersea, I think. I have to check that. My memory might be out there. But there's a winter fair in South London, and there is a series of images.
Winter Wonderland, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Both Q and British Fight had photographs of the same location from different angles. So that was interesting. So it's suggesting that they're both involved in surveilling the same target. Now, we don't know what Winter Wonderland is about because as these intelligence sources do, sometimes they do things to shit up their enemies rather than to inform us. So it is an enigma. We wonder if it has something to do with child trafficking, but we don't know. I think that's the best I can say for 18 at the moment. Now, number 19 was this promised juicy post that was announced earlier in the week. And this is Jonathan Gianogli Exposed, which is this Tory MP in John Major's seat, whose dad is John Major's best mate, who once he was in, fattened his pocket, got done for expenses fraud, and then was in the Ministry of Justice and was involved in stripping legal aid from ordinary people in the United Kingdom, while his law firm profited massively from the people who then desperately had to scrounge up what funds they could to try and get some justice. So Jonathan Gianogli has been identified as British Fight as a key reason we have a two-tier justice system in this country, and he's not happy with him. Now, number 20 was a video announcing the first announcement of a new party in its name, which is, ready? The People's Revolution Party. Very good name it is too.
So that's been announced, isn't it? That
is what's launching very soon. Yes. Or not? Yeah. That is the name of the party, which is about to burst into existence and then take on memberships of £1. 21 is a bit of a look forward to what's to come. 22 was the Lion speech, the Christopher Walken Lion speech. Do you know it? You have a lion and nobody bothers him, and the lioness comes over, is messing with him, and the jackals and the hyenas get closer to him, but the lion doesn't do anything, and all of a sudden the lion gets up and rips everyone to pieces. That speech. It's a good speech.
Right.
So it's sort of saying, you push us and push us and push us and push us, but sooner or later it happens. So I think it was a bit of a statement of intent. Now, numbers 23 to 27 all involve the launch of what we call OPREC. OPREC is the short name of Operation Reclamation, which is our activist wing. So if people are happy with BF, they're happy that they like what's going on, they want to do something, they want to help, at that point, they can volunteer to come from Aslan's army into OPREC. And from there, we plan our activism, which includes organized posting upon the internet, creating videos, creating memes, creating articles, doing research, adminning forums. So basically, we've got lots of busy people And behind the scenes at Aslan's army is now heaving chats for these activities with people doing stuff all day long.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger and bigger and busier and busier, which is brilliant. So we're just becoming better at what we're doing more of it, which we're also seeing our ability to get information decoded and to get research finalized is getting faster. So there's still so much work to do. Oh, don't get me wrong. If I could have 1,000 top Anons just come into the group right now, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
And it would make a massive difference to what we're going to achieve, the splash we can make. But everyone's working hard, and that's a really great thing. So this this came from us. We designed OPREC, but British Flight supported it. So 23 to 27, he was giving us support for OPREC. 27 is how to start to clean up Westminster. Just a few basic ideas. And we had it up as a poll on the forum, on the group, but massively popular ideas in this. 28 is to reform RAB, which most of us will never have heard of, but it's the regulatory asset base. And that by reforming that, we can create big improvements in terms of the equity of the system. 29, remember we said about abolishing Bank of England back in 12? 29, a state investment bank to replace the Bank of England. Which, how Norway has a sovereign fund?
Kind of.
Well, let's assume that you did, and it's ace because they put money away and then there's money for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those. Right. Number 30 is about real freedom of information. So, measures to really increase the transparency of government. And if you stop and think about this for a minute, I mean, we've got this kind of picture where we kind of look at what's been going on behind the scenes, and we kind of imagine what's happened to the intelligence agencies, and we know that there's all these different alphabet agencies, and that sometimes they're on the same side and sometimes they're against each other, and that within those agencies, some people are white hats because they're for the people, and some people are black hats because they're for the owners, to want to put it another way. So we kind of got these mental pictures, these mental divisions in our mind about things. But when you really think about it, we're in the mess we are today because we have so many damn secrets. Can't let them know about that. Can't admit that. Can't say that. Oh, it might upset them. And in this country, perhaps more than any other country in the world, with the exception of possibly China or North Korea, we are fundamentally obsessed with secrecy and arse covering. And yes, we have the Freedom of Information Act, and yes, it has been of use. But when you really want to get the skinnies, they can refuse it, and they do. So it's rather like the parliamentary petitions. If there's a petition they don't want to have to think about, they won't be debating it. Thank you very much. So we have a certain amount of transparency. We have a certain amount of openness. But where it really matters, we don't. And things get swept away into inquiries. We can't talk about that. Or we can't talk about that. And the end result is none of us bloody know anything.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't think that way of doing things has got a future. And if you look at Britain compared to other modern democracies, other G8 countries, it's pathetic. And it's about time we grew up, and it's about time we had a culture of government that wasn't just obsessed with covering their own arses. Maybe, radical thought here, if they did the right thing, they'd have nothing to cover up.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, it is right. It is right. Now, where were we? Number 32. Number 31 was invest in infrastructure. So in infrastructure investment, get the country's basic infrastructure up to scratch for a 21st century country. And that means new technologies, Paul. Yeah. It doesn't mean the same old concrete rubbish we've had before. It means actually realizing the potential that we have. 32, reform public procurement. That feeds back to number 2, especially about the NHS and all the bloody money going down the drain. But it doesn't matter. NHS, court service, anything at all run by the government, anything with government money sluicing through it, There's fingers having it away. We are a very rotten country. We are, and the public is very badly served.
Yeah.
And none of the main three parties want to tackle this stuff because they're all implicated. They're all compromised.
Oh, yeah.
No, so number 33 to 34 were a couple more videos about OpRec, which was very successful. What we did was we went out and did a promotional campaign, and we had a lot of pushback. We had a lot of fight back from Twitter and Facebook. But in doing so, we learned their responses. So the real OpRec, which launches when a certain president's feet touch the floor, will do rather well. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, number 35, Jonathan Yanogli, this time in a video, getting absolutely slammed by British Fight. And the pressure is on Yanogli. He is the first domino. And bear in mind, at the moment, we are still in phase 1 of the 3-stage plan. Yeah, this is preparation. This is saying this is about to happen. But when things start, when phase 2 starts, when the scandals break, I wouldn't want to be called Jonathan Yanogli.
Yeah.
Number 36, another video. The systemic abuse of children will be exposed. Now, British Fight is very serious about this. British Fight has got real information. British Fight will not stop bringing it forwards. And a lot of these names we have not heard before. And I really can't really expand on that at the moment, except that I know that there are going to be developments in the short term that will leave people in absolutely no doubt of British Fight's seriosity in exposing all systemic abuse of children. All of it.
Sounds very, very promising. I mean,
well,
it's been lingering.
I simply have to leave it there today because it's not ready.
Yeah.
And whatever I might think I know, if I just blurted it all out, it probably might be a problem for somebody else. So it's not happening. Now, number 37 was another video again about the People's Revolution Party and being about to emerge. So, but whereas the first video was a bit of a promo, this is British Fight addressing people. So it's in his own words talking about it. Now, number 38 was where British Fight declared one of his alliances. Now, you know that there are a lot of these spooky characters floating about.
Yeah.
And they play a little bit of a game of musical chairs, and you're not quite sure which tumbler the pea is under, and they all kind of shift around, But one of them has now overtly allied with British Fight, which is the Real Dark Judge, also known as TRDJ. Now, he seems to have some highly interesting things that he is getting ready to say about the British royalty. Funnily enough, QAnon posted last night, and he posted a picture which we have identified as from Portland Street in Hong Kong. Looks enormously like Prince Edward crossing the street towards a kindergarten in Portland Street, which happens to also be right next door to a knocking shop. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was he doing in that part of town? It really does look like him. That was QAnon posted that last night. So, yes, back to the Real Dark Judge. He says he has real stuff that he's going to bring forward against the royal family, and that he can't be stopped. So make of that what you will. But he's definitely one to get eyes on. Number 39. British Fight decided it was time to give us another name. So he come out with a message to John Bercow, who, as you well know, Paul, is the Speaker of the House of Commons. In this message...
Interesting character.
Oh, isn't he just? Because in this message, British Fight exposed that John Burko is a sadomasochist with a taste for boys of the rent boy variety, perhaps young rent boys, and perhaps there are other political people that John Burko uses rent boys with.
And just for the sake of this podcast as well, this is a claim from British Fight.
This is what British Fight is saying.
This is what he said, and we're not acknowledging what he said.
His final
so I don't end up with handcuffed outside my front door or something.
Yeah, sorry, Paul.
That's all right.
The final statement in the video is that something bad happened to Chicken.
Yeah.
Now, that means something to somebody. I'm sure John Burko has an idea. Look, this stuff is going out there, right? There is no pushback in terms of no announcements, no recognition, is to all keep it stum, yeah? While at the same time, Facebook and Twitter are going mental. And I mean mental.
Well,
not like, oh, you're a bit annoying, but really like, oh my God, how do we stop this?
A friend of mine got like a week, I think it was a week or month's ban for something he posted the beginning of last year,
Well, with Facebook, that is going to happen, and should these sentencing changes pass to the hate speech laws in August, then Facebook will do what it does in countries like China, which it will directly start trolling through your timeline and finding things to report you to the police for. So, we're all in a lot of legal jeopardy if they get that Malaysian legal prison in place around us and our free speech on the internet.
Well, the problem
I do not believe it will happen.
The problem if that happens here is you'll get people getting arrested for disagreeing with feminists or insulting Islam, basically, and that's a very close reality.
You know what? It won't be everybody, but it will be the people they want.
Yeah.
That's the real issue. That's the real issue. When you get laws like that in place, who are they applied to? It's rather like in America, where Obama persecuted the Tea Party movement using the Inland Revenue. So he went after the Tea Party activists with revenue inspectors and auditors and fine tooth combers and tried to bankrupt as many of them as he could. And that's openly acknowledged in the Tea Party movement with a lot of evidence. It's a very funny how the IRS only targeted certain kinds of people for basically, a financial proctology exam.
It's certainly been targeting a certain like conservative and pro-nationalist type at the moment. But the thing is, it's there to attack anyone. So even now, even if the next 5 years or so, they just target people like you and I, those who think, this is all right, it can soon swing around and come and get you,
I wouldn't want to give any of our listeners a shock by letting them know that globalists don't play fair.
Yeah.
That really shouldn't be a surprise. Now, where do we get to? Oh, yes, real John Burko. So, yes, I don't think he'll be enjoying so much tennis. Number 40 was, again, to do with OPREC, and it was informing that we're ceasing our official activities. That's because we're in a preparation phase. Number 41 announced a start of phase 3, which and Britain not be the same again. What he means is phase 3 of the first part of the plan. Right? So he means that he's starting to do more stuff. So we're now be likely to see something perhaps tonight, which is going to knock some socks off.
Right.
Because his next one, I think, has probably been one of British Fight's most acknowledged drops so far, which is how many paedophiles are in the government. And we have a lot of interesting answers to that question, because once you open that door, there's a heck of a lot of stuff waiting to be found out. God heavens, it's a heck of a rabbit hole. And the latest one, I should say, is Stages of Hell, LibLabCon, you have been warned. So there we go. Now look, that is a quick run through, and I mean quick, from number 1 to number 43 of the information British Fight has released so far. And each one of these, when you actually get into reading that, especially some of them, have got hours of research in them. But we've been doing that research and we've been getting articles out. So we've got decodes for quite a few, nowhere near all of them, but quite a few. We've got family courts, we've got NHS, we've got we've got HS2, we've got 3 pillars, and we've also recently completed how many paedophiles are in government, and we've got full exposure of the stuff with Jonathan Yanogli. So that's all public published articles from the research team who've taken these clues, followed them, and are reporting back the masses of information that we've got to illustrate that there is verifiable fact to back up what British Fight is saying. So that's basically the state of play as of today. As I mentioned at the start, the group is now fast approaching, getting up to about 3,500 members at the moment. Very good chance that it will be significantly higher by the time President Trump visits. And anybody listening to this, get down here, and if you like it, get your mates in, and let's all get our heads together, all start working together, and make a bloody difference.
And what's happening on the 14th of July, just before I head off to the Tommy Robinson protest?
Well, the official, the People's Revolution Party is launching next week, on the end of the week, on Friday. And then the following day, the leader of the party, who is currently part of British Fight, but who is emerging to become a public figure, and who will be doing in the near future will be doing public live streams with disclosures of truth live being streamed over the internet. That's one of the things I know is coming up. He will be getting interviewed on THA Talks by yourself, Paul.
He will indeed, and that is going to be. I'm really looking forward to that.
So you can ask the man himself all about it, and I hope that what I've been able to set out for people tonight, it's not my usual broad view, because believe you me, I've been too busy to have a broad view at the moment. I'm dealing with what's in front of me and the needs of administering an increasingly large Facebook and internet operation. So I'm fully engaged using all of my skills for many years as a truther. I'm giving this the best I've got. I think that shows my seriosity. And, it's fair for everybody. This is real. It's happening. These scandals are breaking, whether you like it or not. We haven't even talked about the scandals, have we?
No, I mean I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will with the representative.
Actually, we probably will do a program on each one, because there's more than enough material. But a quick run through: Spygate, family court corruption, funding ISIS, the paedophiles and Satanists, and the elite robbing this country blind. All of it being exposed in great detail in a very short time frame, all at once. That's what's coming.
That's definitely something to. Well, that is definitely worth looking out for. And I'd just like to say to our listeners, if you've got any questions you'd like us to put forward to the representative from British Fight, either email us via our website or you can leave comments on our YouTube when this show goes up on our YouTube channel. Anything that that John or I see, we'll try and make a note, and obviously we'll have a lot of questions to ask ourselves and stuff.
When the YouTube is up, Paul, I undoubtedly will link it on Aslan's Army, and that'll get shared around, and everyone's also quite welcome to come and put potential questions to
we'll fish around, and any popular questions we'll pick them out.
So, but I expect there'll be a lot more questions than time. It usually is. But we had a Q&A not long ago that went down very well. So that's a written Q&A which is on the group. There's all sorts of things on the group.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. It's been great to talk to you, Paul. I think I've kind of, it has been a bit. I feel like it's been a bit of reports tonight because there's just a lot of information there. But it's exciting times.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've been speaking with Mr. Parry about some shows coming up. Obviously, yourself, we've got plenty of ideas. It's just we've all been so busy now. I was saying earlier, we haven't really pushed THA talks as much as we'd like to as we've entered the summer. But it's definitely not an implication that the show's sort of fizzling out or anything. It's definitely something I've got plans for. And at some stage, I will start to prioritise. You know,
if I could just say, you always say that, Paul, and we're always producing new shows, so it can't be so bad.
That's very, very well put. Very well put. Well, that is where we're going to wrap it up. Really looking forward to having the representative from British Fight. We do actually know who it is, but we haven't had confirmation from him that we can actually disclose it at this point. So we're not going to do it yet. So we just to keep it cool. But we know who it is in name and stuff, and we're looking forward to speaking with him and seeing how at a time that should be very interesting,
really.
Very interesting.
It should be a good interview.
And I shall also go to the Tommy Robinson, hopefully bump into some characters there and take some interviews and put them on our. I was a bit new last time. The bandwidth kept cutting out and stuff. And then I ended up just sort of getting involved myself. I'm not an experienced journalist, so I've got to learn a few of the tricks. But I will try to get a bit more data next time I go on my phone and record it. I may not even bother with the live stream because it's just so clogged up. It's just so difficult. But I'll give it a go. We'll see how we go.
Find a nice, quieter spot just to have a little chat with somebody. Do that. It's just as good as. I mean, a lot of live stream is a lot of shouting and noise, and you do wonder, turn it down a bit until something happens.
The quality's not as good as if I just do an interview.
It's all great. And to see the crowds of people coming out to say, we've had enough of being pushed around like this. And we're not going to let people be victimised and have their rights traduced, and we insist on due process. So
don't listen to the globalist, corrupt media and their views of it. It was full of great people there. You network, you meet a lot of interesting, passionate, decent people there, and it's absolutely disgusting how some of the media likes to paint these
let's face it,
common folk as riffraff. They're not, I know there's a few
television. You're setting yourself up to have a distorted view of reality.
I know there was a bit of trouble, and that was 50-50. I mean, the police did get a little bit heavy-handed when they didn't need to, really. And of course, you always get a few rowdy people that are always quick to jump at a little bit of trouble. But on all, there's 20,000 people there. It was great, and I'd recommend anyone interested in going, don't be put off by all this negative press. You'll go there and you'll have a really great time. I actually went with a friend of mine who's pretty much a card-carrying East European communist, and she was behind the rally and supported it, and she actually had a great day and had a picture taken with Raheem, from the guy from Breitbart or ex-Breitbart. What's his name?
Raheem Kassam.
That's it, yeah. I'm usual forgetting my names. And they had a little chat with him. And, it is a great day out, very unified, very patriotic, with lots of lovely people out there. Ignore the media. They're full of you-know-what. Anyone interested in going, maybe I'll bump into you there. Anything you'd like to add, John?
Well, thank you for your time. Can we get eyes on what we're doing? Whatever else you're doing, there's a very good chance that it fits in with British Fight's plan. So if you're willing to unify, if you're willing to come together, if you're willing to act as one, we've got a chance here we've never had before to really make a difference and change the landscape of this nation.
Well said. Please keep telling your friends about this show, keep linking the show, and more importantly, keep downloading it until the next very special interview. We'll be seeing you. Take care. Bye.